The arrival of peace. The stars glimmered like silent watchers across the black ocean of space. In the heart of that endless sea, a convoy of alien ships drifted with elegance and purpose. They were the envoys of the Galactic Union, proud representatives of 1,000 worlds united under one banner of peace. Their mission was clear: to welcome a new species into the family of stars, the humans of planet Earth. For centuries, Earth had been silent, its signals faint, its technology primitive by galactic standards. The Union believed humanity to be harmless, fragile, and perhaps even grateful to be invited so. The alien ambassadors came with gifts, with songs, and with promises of friendship. The lead envoy ship, Seraphis Dawn, gleamed with translucent hulls of crystal and light. Its commander, Ambassador Tralkesh, stood tall within the command chamber, his 4 eyes glowing a calm violet. He believed this mission would be the easiest of his career. "Prepare the peace transmission," he said to his staff, his voice echoing softly across the chamber. "Let us greet these Earthlings before they mistake our silence for arrogance." The crew obeyed, sending a pulse of bright energy toward the blue and white planet below. The message was elegant, peaceful, and full of pride, a greeting from the stars. But before the signal could even reach Earth's atmosphere, something strange happened. The ship's sensors detected a tremor, not from the planet, but from the void itself. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't even a message. It was something deeper, older, a vibration that rippled through space like the growl of a sleeping giant. Tralkesh frowned, adjusting his display. "What is that frequency?" he demanded. "Unknown, Ambassador," replied his sensor officer. "It's coming from behind us." Slowly, the alien envoy ships turned their long glass hulls toward the dark horizon of stars. And then they saw it. At first, it was only a shadow, a faint distortion in the starlight. Then it grew, metal gleaming, engines burning blue like small suns. A colossal warship emerged from behind the moon, moving with a silence that felt unnatural. It was shaped like a dagger pointed at the heavens, covered in dark steel and heavy armor plates. Letters etched across its hull glowed faintly in English. EHS Titan. The alien fleet froze, their systems confused. Their leaders speechless. Tralkesh whispered, That cannot be a human ship." Every diplomatic vessel in orbit tried to scan the structure, but their scanners failed. The readings came back impossible. The Titan's armor absorbed light, radiation, even quantum echoes. It was as if space itself bent to hide its true strength. Inside the warship, human officers watched the alien fleet on holographic displays. Captain Elaine Voss stood at the center of the command deck, her uniform crisp, her face calm but unreadable. "Ambassadorial ships confirmed," her lieutenant reported. "They sent a peace signal," Voss nodded slowly. "And they found something far more honest," she said, her tone cold but steady. The Titan didn't broadcast words. It didn't play music, it simply existed. Its size dwarfed the alien envoy ships. Its power radiated like silent thunder. Every alien sensor officer felt the same instinctive fear. This was not a primitive species. This was a civilization that had built something that should not exist. The Galactic Union had rules, ancient laws forbidding the construction of ships beyond a certain mass. Humanity had clearly ignored those laws, or perhaps never cared about them. Tralkesh took a deep breath. "Send another message," he said quickly. "Reassure them that we come in peace." The crew sent the message again, carefully, nervously. But this time, the signal didn't travel, it reflected back. The Titan's hull sent it bouncing across the void, distorting it into a low, thunderous hum. Every alien communicator filled with static, then silence. The humans aboard the Titan exchanged quiet glances. No one spoke. There was no need. The message was already clear. Earth was not asking for peace. Earth was deciding if peace was deserved. Down below, Earth's skies glowed with a soft aurora from the ship's reactor wake. Cities looked up, unaware of the silent standoff unfolding above them. To the Galactic Union, this was supposed to be a day of triumph to humanity. It was a test, the first step in showing the galaxy that they would no longer bow. Ambassador Tralkesh stared at the hologram of the human warship, his mind filled with questions, confusion, and a quiet spark of fear. He turned to his deputy and whispered, "We came to greet children." His voice trembled. "But we have found giants." The alien ships dimmed their lights, lowering their communication arrays as a gesture of respect. For the first time, the Galactic Union realized they had misjudged Earth. Humanity had not been sleeping, they had been preparing, And their answer to the stars was not a song or a smile. It was the silent orbit of a Titan-class warship, the echo of steel. The silence between the alien envoys and the human warship felt heavier than gravity itself. Every second stretched like eternity. Every heartbeat echoed across the comm channels. Ambassador Tralkesh stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the massive ship that floated before him. The Titan did not move, it did not blink, it simply watched. Like a god made of metal, his aides whispered nervously, asking if they should send another signal. But Tralkesh raised his hand slowly. "No," he said. "They've already answered. Inside the Titan's command deck." Captain Elaine Voss remained silent. Her crew waited for her command, their screens showing the alien ships trembling with energy readings. She had seen countless first contacts before, but this one was different. The aliens had arrived with the arrogance of teachers, not equals. She could see it in their formation, their language, even in the way their ships hovered above Earth as if they owned the sky. But now their voices had fallen quiet, and the silence of the Titan was louder than any declaration of power. "Status report," Voss said softly, her voice calm but carrying across the room. "Shield stable. Weapon systems on cold standby," her tactical officer replied. "No hostile activity, but their scanners are probing us constantly." Voss nodded, her expression unreadable. "Let them see what they cannot understand," she murmured. The bridge lights flickered faintly as the ship's AI adjusted the energy grid. A deep hum rolled through the hull, like the slow breathing of a sleeping beast outside. The void shimmered as the Titan's stealth field pulsed once, a heartbeat of living metal. On the alien flagship, panic began to bloom behind the polished words of diplomacy. "Ambassador, our scanners are blind," one of the technicians shouted. "That ship is rewriting local space physics." Tralkesh clenched his jaw. "Impossible. No species under level 6 engineering can manipulate mass like that." But the readings didn't lie. The humans were breaking every known rule of galactic design. The Titan was not just a ship, it was a fortress. A monument, maybe even a weapon of myth. The Union had legends. Old stories told to frighten young officers. They spoke of ancient civilizations that once built war machines so vast they could silence entire systems. But those were myths, fairy tales of extinct empires now. As the shadow of the Titan spread across their scanners, the aliens began to wonder if the myths had simply moved to Earth. "Open a visual channel," Tralkesh ordered, his voice trembling despite his effort to stay calm. A shimmering image appeared on his main screen. Captain Voss, standing tall, wrapped in shadows and light. Her human face was calm, cold, unreadable. "Ambassador Tralkesh," she said, her tone even. "Humanity acknowledges your presence." Her words carried no warmth, no threat, only certainty. "You came to speak of peace," she continued. "Yet you arrived with fleets and scanners. Is this how your Union defines friendship?" The bridge of the Seraphis Dawn fell silent. Every alien on board could feel the weight of those words. Tralkesh bowed his head slightly. "We meant no offense, Captain," he replied slowly. "Our mission is diplomatic. We bring the hand of peace." Voss tilted her head, her expression neutral. "Then keep your hands to yourself until invited," she said. The transmission ended, leaving a hollow echo through the alien decks. For a long moment no one moved. Then one of Tralkesh's aides whispered, "Ambassador, what do we do now?" He didn't answer immediately. He just stared out the viewport. The Titan was still there, unmoving, silent, but somehow louder than before. Its massive hull caught the reflection of the sun, casting light across the alien ships like a blade. Even from this distance, it looked alive, as if the ship itself was watching them, judging them. In the depths of the Titan, deep within its engine core, ancient power systems hummed. Engraved across its reactor walls were the words of Earth's lost wars. Peace through strength, carved into steel by human hands long gone. Captain Voss stood before the viewing glass, her reflection merging with the stars. "Do you think they understand now?" her lieutenant asked quietly. Voss didn't turn. "No," she said, "not yet." She looked out at the alien fleet, her eyes sharp as the stars. "But they will." The Titan adjusted its orbit slightly, its engines glowing a deep crimson for a moment before fading again. Every alien sensor picked up the surge, and every captain aboard the Envoy fleet flinched. The Union had sent envoys expecting to find a race of farmers and dreamers. Instead, they had found builders of monsters, keepers of power once thought extinct. And somewhere deep in their hearts, fear began to bloom. Not fear of attack, but fear of awakening something humanity had kept buried for centuries. Ambassador Tralkesh looked at the Titan once more, his voice low and quiet. "This is not a meeting," he said. "This is a warning." His words went unchallenged. For every soul aboard the Envoy fleet already knew the truth. The humans hadn't come to meet the galaxy. The galaxy had come to meet humanity's silence. And in that silence it heard the echo of steel. The mistake. The Galactic Union fleet hung in the void, shimmering under the faint glow of Earth's sun. What had begun as a peaceful mission now felt like a trap made of silence and steel. Ambassador Tralkesh stood on the bridge of his crystal flagship, feeling the weight of 1,000 unseen eyes. He could feel it. The humans were not simply watching. They were measuring, testing, and waiting. The hum of tension was louder than any weapon, and still the Titan did not move across the fleet. Confusion grew among the Union officers. They were diplomats, not soldiers, trained for words, not for fear, and yet every alien heart aboard those ships beat faster. The humans had shown no aggression, and that made it worse. The stillness of the Titan felt like the silence before a storm, and some of the younger commanders began to whisper. "Maybe the humans are bluffing," one said. "They have one ship, we have 20, another added. Their voices trembled, but pride was a poison they could not spit out. Ambassador Tralkesh ordered calm, but arrogance travels faster than wisdom. On the flank of the Envoy formation, Captain Jaren of the ship Valon's Grace decided to act. He was tired of this fear, tired of staring into the black eyes of an unmoving beast. He turned to his crew and said, "They are just humans. Open a passive scan." The officers hesitated, but Ambassador Tralkesh ordered. Jaren cut them off sharply. "We need to know what we are dealing with." And with one command, the Valon's Grace activated its deep space scanner. A beam of pale light lanced out across the void, thin and invisible to the naked eye. It struck the Titan's hull, and the universe itself seemed to shiver. For a single second, everything went quiet, even the stars. Then the beam rebounded with 10 times the force. Energy feedback surged through Zaren's ship, frying its systems in an instant. Panels exploded, sparks flew. Crew screamed as consoles burst into flames. "Shut it down! Shut it down!" The captain yelled, but it was too late. The scanner array melted into glowing metal, and the Valon's Grace spun helplessly through space. Its engines flickered, dying one by one, leaving the ship adrift from the bridge of the Seraphis Dawn. Tralkesh watched in horror. "What have you done?" he whispered, but the answer was already clear. The Titan had not fired a weapon, had not even turned its guns. Yet the alien ship had nearly destroyed itself. "Ambassador." "It wasn't a counterattack," his science officer said quietly. "It was reflection. Their armor returned our scan with perfect precision." Tralkesh's eyes widened. "Perfect precision?" he repeated. "Yes," the officer said, voice shaking. Like a mirror of energy, inside the Titan, Captain Elaine Voss stood in silence. Her crew watched the alien ship spinning in the void, smoke drifting from its shattered hull. "Report," she said softly. "No damage to us." "Captain," her lieutenant replied, "but one of their ships tried a deep core scan." Voss sighed. "They never learn." She turned toward the viewport, the curve of Earth glowing blue below. "Send no response," she said. "Let them decide what lesson they just learned." The Titan's engines pulsed once, a quiet warning that echoed across every frequency. The other alien ships scrambled to stabilize the damaged vessel, but none dared approach too close. Every sensor in the fleet still screamed with static. Their systems couldn't even properly read the space around the Titan anymore. It was as if the ship was rewriting physics with every heartbeat. Tralkesh gripped the edge of his command console, his mind racing. What kind of mind builds such a thing? He muttered under his breath. His advisor answered softly. "A mind that fears nothing." In that moment, Tralkesh realized the truth. The Union had come to Earth believing themselves advanced, enlightened, and superior. But the humans had built something that defied understanding, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. It wasn't meant to conquer, it was meant to survive. The Titan wasn't just a warship, it was a declaration of existence. A monument to a species that refused to be forgotten. "Ambassador," one of his aides whispered, "should we retreat?" Tralkesh hesitated. The word retreat burned his pride, but he also knew One wrong move could turn peace into extinction. Before he could answer, his screen flickered. A single message appeared encrypted in an ancient Terran format. 2 words only, simple and terrifying. Stand down. The message wasn't shouted. It wasn't loud. It came like a whisper through the static, yet it felt like thunder. Every alien heart aboard the fleet froze. Tralkesh felt his breath stop as the Titan's engines glowed faintly red. He looked to his officers and said in a low voice, "Do as they say." The alien fleet dimmed its engines. Forming a slow retreat line, the humans said nothing more. But their silence was deafening. As the Titan drifted closer to the light of Earth, its hull reflected the sun like a silver blade. Tralkesh turned to his crew, his voice heavy with awe. "We came to teach," he said softly, "but we have become the students." The young officers bowed their heads. None dared to speak in the heart of the void. Humanity had spoken, not with words but with restraint. And in that restraint lay a message older and stronger than war. Do not mistake peace for weakness, the lesson had been given. And the galaxy would not forget it. The hidden history. The stars burned quietly above as the Galactic Union fleet drifted at a cautious distance. No one dared to move too close to the Titan now. Not after what had happened. The silence between ships carried fear, respect, and something deeper, curiosity. Ambassador Tralkesh could not stop thinking about those 2 human words. Stand down. They carried no threat, no emotion, yet they struck harder than any weapon. It was as if the humans had simply reminded the galaxy that they had nothing left to prove. In the command chamber of the Seraphis Dawn, Tralkesh called for all intelligence files on humanity. "Bring me every record, every rumor, even the forbidden ones," he ordered. His staff hesitated. The human archives were marked as restricted by the Union Council. "Override it," he said firmly. "We are already standing before something that should not exist." Moments later, holograms filled the air, grainy images, classified files, forgotten data from centuries ago. As the light shimmered across his face, Tralkesh read in silence. And with each line, his expression darkened. The humans had once been explorers, builders, and dreamers. Their colonies had stretched far beyond the solar system. But then something happened. A war so vast that even the Union had erased it from history. They called it the Eclipse War. No one truly knew what caused it, only that billions had died and dozens of systems had burned. The humans had vanished after that, sealing their borders and going dark for generations. The galaxy thought they had destroyed themselves, but now, the Titan stood before them. Proof that they hadn't died. They had endured. Tralkesh leaned closer to the hologram, his hands trembling. The Titan class was first designed not for conquest, but for survival. Each ship was said to be the final defense of Earth. Built during the last days of the Eclipse War, forged from planetary cores, powered by dark fusion, and guided by human minds that refused to surrender. When the war ended, the humans hid their Titans. The galaxy forgot, but Earth remembered back aboard the Titan. Captain Elaine Voss watched the alien fleet through the viewing glass. Her reflection overlapped with the stars, her expression unreadable. She had read the same history Tralkesh was now uncovering. It wasn't pride that filled her chest. It was sorrow. The Titans were not monuments of glory. They were memorials of loss. Each one carried the name of a city destroyed in humanity's darkest war. On the side of her ship, the faint letters glowed. Titan, New Berlin. A graveyard in motion, hidden beneath layers of steel and silence. Her first officer approached. "Ma'am, the alien fleet has stopped scanning." "Good," Voss replied quietly. "Maybe they're finally beginning to understand." He nodded, but curiosity gleamed in his eyes. "Why reveal the Titan now?" he asked. "We've stayed hidden for so long." Voss looked out toward Earth, the blue planet shining beneath them like a fragile gem. "Because they came not to meet us," she said, "but to measure us, and humanity doesn't get measured anymore." Back on the Seraphis Dawn, the atmosphere had shifted from arrogance to disbelief. Tralkesh read the final line of the human file aloud. "Do not disturb the Titans," he whispered. That was the last recorded warning. His science officer swallowed hard. "Ambassador, if this is true, we may be standing before the last relics of the First Galactic War." Tralkesh shook his head slowly. "Not relics," he said. "Survivors." He turned toward the holographic projection of Earth. His voice was heavy but calm. Prepare a transmission to the Union Council, he ordered. Tell them humanity is not to be approached without respect. His aide blinked. Respect, Ambassador. Tralkesh nodded, his tone quiet but firm. Yes, respect. When distance inside the Titan, the hum of its engines was like a heartbeat beneath metal skin. Captain Voss stood before the memory wall, a dark corridor lined with holograms of lost colonies. Names, faces, and cities floated in dim blue light. Mars Colony, Proxima Outpost, EO Station, all gone, all burned, all remembered. Her hand brushed over one hologram. Her grandfather's photo. He had fought in the Eclipse War, one of the last engineers who helped build the Titans. His recorded message echoed softly through the corridor. Someday the stars will come knocking again. Elaine, the voice said. When they do, make sure they remember why we built these ships. Voss closed her eyes, the words still echoing inside her mind. She turned and walked back toward the bridge. Her footsteps steady outside, the alien fleet remained silent. Too afraid to leave, too proud to surrender. Humanity's presence filled the void, vast and unspoken. The Titan drifted above Earth like a guardian made of memory and vengeance. And across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. The humans have returned. But they are not the same as before. The Galactic Union had come to teach peace, but instead they had uncovered the truth. Peace was not given to humanity. It was earned in blood, rebuilt in silence, and carried forward in steel. The aliens had come searching for an ally, but they had found something else. They had found the keepers of forgotten warfire, the architects of survival, the children of the storm. And though the Titan's guns remained quiet, its very presence was a roar, a reminder to the stars that peace, without strength, was only an illusion. The demonstration. The void hung quiet, but the silence no longer felt calm. It was the silence before a revelation, before something vast reminded the galaxy of its place. The alien envoys drifted cautiously, their shimmering ships trembling beneath invisible pressure. The Titan had not fired, had not spoken, yet every hull within 1,000 kilometers creaked under unseen weight. Ambassador Tralkesh gripped the rail of his command deck, his eyes wide. What are they doing? He whispered. No one answered because no one knew. Inside the EHS Titan, Captain Elaine Voss stood before her crew. Her voice was steady, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the alien formation. They think we are relics, she said quietly. Ghosts of a forgotten age. Let's remind them what a ghost of humanity can do. Her officers exchanged glances, nervous but proud. The AI core pulsed to life, its voice deep and calm. Gravity lattice initialized. Voss gave a single nod. Begin demonstration. Outside, the Titan's engines glowed a deep crimson. Then slowly, space itself began to twist. The stars stretched and bent, their light curving around the massive warship like ripples on water. Within seconds, the gravity field expanded outward, silent and invisible but undeniable. The nearby moons shuddered as their orbits shifted by fractions. The alien ships screamed warnings across the comms. Their stabilizers overloading. Ambassador, we're being pulled, shouted one officer. Our vectors are collapsing. Tralkesh stared in disbelief. They're bending gravity itself, he murmured. Without a single weapon, the Titan remained motionless, serene amid the chaos it created. The field pulsed again, and asteroids nearby cracked under pressure. But then, as quickly as it began, it stopped, every gauge flattened. Every alarm fell silent, and in that moment of stillness, the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Captain Voss turned to her crew. Transmit this frequency to all channels. A single tone echoed through the stars. Low, steady, ancient. It was the same frequency the human fleets once used during the Eclipse War. The same tone that had made empires surrender before battle even began. On the Seraphis dawn, Tralkesh fell to his knees. He had studied that sound in old records, the note of surrender that ended wars. It wasn't just noise, and it was history roaring back to life. Every alien captain aboard the Envoy fleet ordered immediate system shutdowns. Engines cooled, weapons powered down, shields folded. The fleet bowed, not out of command but out of instinct. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy remembered what it meant to be afraid of humanity. Captain Voss watched the readouts flatten, her expression soft but stern. Bring us back to standard orbit, she said. That's enough, her lieutenant nodded, hand shaking slightly as he executed the command. Message from the alien fleet incoming, he added quietly. Audio only. The bridge filled with the trembling voice of Ambassador Tralkesh. Captain Voss, he said, the Galactic Union acknowledges humanity's sovereignty. Voss didn't smile. Didn't celebrate, she simply replied, good, she said. Then remember this moment. The Titan glided slowly back toward its original orbit. Its engines dimmed, the crimson light fading into calm blue. To the aliens, it looked like a god returning to sleep. To the humans aboard, it was simply another day, another test of discipline. Because the Titan was more than a weapon, it was a symbol, proof that humanity's greatest strength was not destruction, but control down below on Earth. Scientists watched from observation centers. They cheered softly as readings confirmed the gravity demonstration had ended without damage. One of the younger analysts turned to her senior and asked, "Do you think they'll try again?" The older man smiled faintly. "No," he said. "They've learned what they needed to." In the sky above, the Titan shimmered like a silver guardian against the dawn. A whisper passed across continents, across data channels, across the stars themselves. Earth is awake again. Ambassador Tralkesh sat alone in his chamber. Staring at the final image of the Titan, he could still feel the vibration of that single human tone deep in his chest. It wasn't a threat. It was a memory. The kind of memory that reshaped civilizations, he whispered to himself. We thought we brought peace. He looked at the stars, voice trembling. But they are the peacekeepers. On the Titan's bridge, Captain Voss stood beside the observation glass. Her reflection merged with the curve of Earth, the blue light washing over her uniform. Her AI spoke softly. "The galaxy now knows, Captain," Voss replied without turning. "Good," she said. "Let them think before they act." For centuries, humanity had hidden its strength, its silence mistaken for weakness. Now with one silent act they had rewritten that belief. The galaxy had come expecting children and left bowing before titans. The negotiation. The galaxy had gone silent. Across 100 worlds, news spread like a pulse of thunder. "The humans have returned," they whispered, and they brought their titans with them. In the cold orbit above Earth, the alien envoy fleet floated still, humbled and shaken. Their ships no longer gleamed with pride but flickered with uncertainty. Even the stars seemed to watch carefully, wary of the power that had just awakened inside the Seraphis dawn. Ambassador Tralkesh sat alone in his command chair. His diplomats whispered around him, afraid to speak too loudly. No one in the history of the Galactic Union had ever seen such a demonstration, not without a single weapon fired. He felt the weight of centuries pressing down on his shoulders. To retreat now would mark the Union as cowards, but to advance without respect could bring extinction. He closed his eyes, took a long breath, and made his choice. "Open a channel to the human flagship," he said softly. "I will speak to their captain myself." The comms officer hesitated. "Are you certain, Ambassador?" Tralkesh nodded. "No," he said with a tired smile. "But I must." Moments later, a light blinked on the screen and a connection accepted. The view filled with the bridge of the EHS Titan. Captain Elaine Voss stood calmly at the center, hands behind her back, her face lit by the quiet glow of instruments and stars. Her eyes, cold and steady, met his across the distance. "This is Ambassador Tralkesh of the Galactic Union," he began slowly. "Humanity's demonstration has been well received." He struggled to find the right words, ones that would not sound weak or deceitful. Voss tilted her head slightly. "You came to Earth with fleets and scanners," she said. "Now you come with humility." Her voice was calm, not cruel, but her words struck like lightning. Tralkesh bowed his head slightly. "We came seeking peace," he said, "but perhaps not as equals. And that was our first mistake." Voss studied him for a long moment, her silence as heavy as the ship behind her. When she finally spoke, her words were measured. "Peace requires understanding, Ambassador," she said. "And understanding begins with respect." She turned slightly toward her officers. "Patch this to the Union Council relay," she ordered. Then she faced the alien again, her voice steady as steel. "From this day forward, Earth will not kneel to councils or treaties written without its name. The era of human silence is over." Tralkesh lowered his gaze, every word cutting through the illusion of galactic superiority. He had come expecting to offer humanity a place in the Union. Now he realized it was the Union that needed permission to stand beside them. He swallowed hard, his pride finally bowing to truth. "What would you have of us, Captain Voss?" he asked quietly. Her answer came without hesitation. "Transparency," she said, "and honesty. If you come in peace, bring no fleets, no hidden weapons, no lies cloaked in diplomacy. Approach us as you would approach a mirror, knowing what you see might not flatter you." The comms channel was silent. Behind Tralkesh, his aides watched. Awed and uncertain, the captain continued. "Humanity has no wish for war," she said. "But understand this, peace is not a weakness for us. It is discipline." She took one slow step forward, her reflection merging with the stars behind her. "We built Titans not to destroy the galaxy," she said, "but to remind it that freedom has a cost." Tralkesh bowed deeply, his four eyes dimming to a soft violet glow. "Then we will remember your words," he said. "On behalf of the Galactic Union, I offer recognition, not of dominance, but of respect." Voss gave a short nod. "Accepted," she replied. For the first time, her tone softened slightly. "Perhaps this is where real peace begins." The channel closed, leaving silence between the fleets once more, but this time, the silence was not heavy with fear. It was filled with understanding. The alien ships began to move away slowly, their lights dimming in quiet retreat. Each one turned, leaving the Titan alone above Earth's orbit. Watching, waiting, guarding inside the Titan, the bridge lights dimmed to stand by. The crew finally exhaled the tension they had held for hours. Her first officer turned to her. "Do you think they'll keep their word, Captain?" Voss smiled faintly, a rare expression from her usually cold face. "They will," she said, "because they've seen what happens when they don't." Down on Earth, telescopes across continents captured the alien fleet leaving orbit. Citizens gathered in streets and rooftops, watching as the night sky shimmered with departing light. No speeches were made, no victory declared. Only a quiet understanding spread across humanity. They were no longer alone. But this time they were the ones who set the rules. In the quiet of her quarters, Captain Voss removed her gloves and stared at her reflection. The stars shimmered outside her window. She whispered softly, "Peace through strength. Strength through silence," it was the creed of the Titans, the lesson of 1,000 scars. And now it was the law of the stars. The galaxy remembers, the galaxy had changed. Across distant suns and silent moons, the story of Earth spread like starlight. Whispers carried through trade lanes and military channels alike. "The humans have returned," they said, and they spoke through a Titan. On the core worlds of the Galactic Union, senators and scholars debated endlessly. Some called the humans dangerous, others called them necessary. But no one called them weak anymore. Their silent warship had rewritten the balance of power without firing a single shot. Every fleet commander studied its footage in secret, trying to understand how peace could look so terrifying. In the shadowed archives of forgotten empires, old records flickered awake. Ancient warnings once dismissed as myth returned to relevance. "Do not provoke the children of Earth," one text read, "for they build their gods from steel." And now, across the stars, that warning no longer sounded like superstition. It sounded like history repeating itself. Ambassador Tralkesh stood before the Union Council, his voice calm but hollow. "They came in silence," he told them, "and left us speechless. They taught us that strength is not in weapons but in will." Around him, the council chamber echoed with unease. For centuries, the Union had ruled through treaties and dominance. But now a single planet had reminded them that peace was never ownership. It was respect, meanwhile, aboard the EHS Titan. Earth's blue glow reflected against the ship's vast hull. Captain Elaine Voss walked the silent corridors, her boots echoing softly against steel floors. Her crew worked quietly, calm and precise. Each officer knew they were now part of something larger than duty. They were part of legend. "Status report," she asked softly. "All systems nominal." "Captain," her lieutenant replied. "No threats detected. No communication since the negotiation." Voss gave a slight nod. "Good," she said. "Let the silence speak for us." The Titan drifted slowly across the edge of the atmosphere. Its reflection shimmered in the aurora like a promise. Children on Earth looked up that night and pointed to the sky. Parents told them, "That's the Titan, our guardian." And somewhere deep inside the ship's core, the AI recorded the laughter from the planet below. It stored those sounds like precious data, proof that humanity still dreamed. Months later, Deep in the Andromedan sectors, alien fleets changed their patrol routes. Outposts once arrogant now lowered their banners when human ships passed by. Even pirates stopped raiding Terran convoys, whispering that the ghosts of Earth watched from the dark. The Titan never threatened, never fired, it simply was. And that presence alone reshaped empires more than any battle ever could. Ambassador Tralkesh sent one final message to Captain Voss. It contained no demands, no terms, only gratitude. Humanity has reminded the stars that peace must be chosen, the message read. Voss smiled faintly as she read it, whispering, "Then perhaps they are learning." She turned to the stars once more, the ship's engines thrumming softly beneath her feet. "Helm," she said, "set a slow patrol around the moon." "Yes, Captain," the officer replied. "Shall I notify Earth Command?" "Not yet," she answered. "Let them rest. They've earned it." The Titan drifted away, fading into the horizon of dawn, its massive frame outlined against the rising sun. To the people of Earth it became a symbol, the silent protector, the voice of restraint. To the aliens of the galaxy, it became a legend whispered in the dark. They called it the ship that ended wars without firing. And somewhere beyond the stars, where silence still reigns, the galaxy remembers the day it saw humanity stand tall once more, not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as survivors who turned steel into peace. And as the echoes faded into eternity, one truth remained clear. When Earth rises, the stars listen.